Welcome to the Speak Like a Leader podcast with John Bates. Welcome to the show. With me today, I have someone I've known for quite a while, whom I respect greatly. And she's somebody who has what I think of as a unique perspective on the world, given what she's been doing for quite a while now. And I think that her perspective is very, very useful to anyone in a leadership role, in, as a startup, as an entrepreneur. And so I'm really thrilled to have you with us today. This is Lee Hayes, the owner of Go Leeward Speaker Management. And she also runs a program called Path to the Mainstage. Lee, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, John. I love talking with you because I know you are an expert in the field of speaking, and it's just a joy to be here.
Well, thank you. It's a joy to have you. And, if you want to find Lee out there on the interwebs, as they say, you can find her at Go Leeward. That's Leeward, goleeward.com, and pathtothemainstage.com. And if you're a LinkedIn person, you can find her on LinkedIn at /in/Lee-Hayes. Did I get that right?
You did, and it's Lee with an L-I, which is
Very
different
good.
than my website, which is with an L-E-E, because it means something different.
There you go. That's true. Okay, so Lee, Li-Hayes at LinkedIn, but Go Leeward, Leeward.com. So Lee, as I said, I really think that you have a very special and very useful take on the world, because you work with two groups of people mainly. One is meeting planners and the other is speakers. And I think that there's a lot we could learn from you about where those relationships and that connection between a meeting planner and a speaker goes right and where it goes wrong. So do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the people that you represent? Just tell us a little bit more about what you do, and then we can jump into what we can learn.
Yeah, I'd love to give you a little bit about the people I speak with, because I know or work with, because they are the most amazing people. I work with brilliant thought leaders who are also delightful people, which is why I like working with people like you. You're delightful. But I have found over the years, life is too short to work with jerks. And so,
sure.
Right? So everyone I work with is delightful, which means they are giving of themselves. They put the audience or the team or others before them or serve them, which is just a wonderful thing. Some examples are Mike Michalowicz, author of Profit First and a boatload of other best-selling books. He has over 1 million readers, and he's always looking for solutions for entrepreneurs.
He's one of my favorite people on earth, and he was the first guest on Speak Like a Leader show.
See that? A lot of firsts. He's just great.
Yeah.
And then you have people like Jesse Cole. And anybody who's not heard of Jesse Cole yet, where have you been? Google Jesse Cole.
Bananas.
The Savannah Bananas. I wish there was video. You could see I was wearing a Savannah Banana shirt. He is taking the world by storm, but is still delightful. But an absolute thought leader when it comes to customer service and success. Yeah. His customers are his greatest fans, which is just amazing. Companies can learn from him.
Yeah.
And then I have people like Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman blows my mind every time I talk with him. He is a self-made billionaire, which when you say it to him, he sort of poo-poos you, but he is, and a lot of people can say they're self-made millionaires, but when you add zeros on there and say billion, that's kind of impressive.
It's different, yeah.
One of the founders of Priceline.com, ubid.com.
He's great. I've seen him and talked with him. He's great. He's really, really great.
Well, again, such a giving person. All he does, right, is help entrepreneurs around the world to be successful. And and entrepreneurs who are starting with nothing, and he helps them be successful. So just a mind-blowing individual. Love working with him.
That's awesome. So you get to sit at this juncture of people that are looking for people to speak at their big events and the people who speak at those big events. And so you get to hear a lot let's start with the meeting planner's perspective, because they are, they've got a lot of people that they want to make happy. They want to bring someone in to enlighten them and inspire them. And they're really on the line. Like, what I didn't think about enough in the beginning of my speaking career was just how much of a risk a meeting planner takes when they bring somebody in as the keynote speaker, right? Like, if it doesn't go really, really, really well, people are unhappy with them. Yeah.
And that's something I when I work with speakers, I always remind them of that there are 3 things you need to do. And I don't care who the meeting planner is. I don't care if they're corporate. I don't care if they're association, entrepreneurial. They need butts in seats, right? They
Right.
have people who want to be there. So you need to be attractive to potential audience members. And the biggest way to do that is to be a celebrity. And when I say a celebrity, I don't mean you've been seen on TV. I mean, you are known as the thought leader. So in whatever circle you're speaking, you are known within this circle. That makes you a celebrity within the circle, right? Because me, I'm a
Right.
total geek. You might mention a singer or a movie star to me, and I'll go, I'm sorry, I don't know who they are. You mention a thought leader to me in business, and I'm all geeky about it. I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome. I love that
I've
person.
got to
Right?
be there. Yeah.
Got to be there. So it's the same thing with event planners, that they need to find someone who is known to their audience, who their audience is going to get all geeky about, whatever that might be.
Right. Well, and and listen, that's a little bit slightly counterintuitive, because it's easy to think that they're the HR person for this big company and they can just tell everybody be there. But people don't come if they're not interested. And all of a sudden they've got this big room planning for everybody to be there and it's only half full. That makes them look really bad too, right?
It makes them look really bad. And as someone who's got 20 years, and I don't know how this happens, I'm only 25 years old, right?
Exactly.
But I have 20 years of HR experience. And I used to run these learning events for leaders, for staff. And you can tell people you need to be there. But let me tell you, if you're a leader, you don't need to be anywhere. You need to be where you want to be. So if you don't want to be there, you're not going to be there.
Yep.
And the other thing is, they might be physically in the seat, but mentally check out. That's even worse. There's nothing worse, right, than having a speaker. And I remember this one guy was at the back of the room and he's playing like Candy Crush. And I'm going, wow, he's not here. Like, mentally, he's not here. So if I don't have a great speaker in the front, that's what's going to happen. They're going to check out.
Yeah. You got to be better than Candy Crush, baby.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of, that's not a really high bar.
No.
But it tells you something.
But listen, I mean, it's not a joke.
No, it's true. If people check out and start fiddling on their phone, if you have to get on stage and say, everybody shut off your phone and pay attention, that's a bad thing. Like, if you need to tell them that, that's a bad thing. And I've heard speakers say it. Everyone shut down your device. If you need to say it, you're not good enough. Go see John Bates. He's going to fix you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lee. So one is butts and seats. What's number 2?
Well, the big thing is proof of skill, because like you said, the event planners are taking a risk. And the thing is, the event planner is not always, or often is not the decision maker. They're the gatekeeper. They're the one, they are going to the decision maker. They're going to the CEO or the person who owns the event and saying, hey, here is the person I think should speak. And then the decision maker goes, okay, I'm trusting your opinion on this one. And you blow it. Oh my God. So you're
terrible.
So you're looking for proof of skill. That's the other thing I say to anybody who's a speaker. You need proof of skill. And proof of skill is, you need videos, you need testimonials, you need, articles about you. You need articles you've written to prove that you're the expert. Because how else is the gatekeeper, the meeting planner, going to know you're any good? Unless they don't know who you are. They might not care who you are, because that's not their job to know who you are. Their job is to make sure you're good. So you need to prove it with collateral that proves you're worthy.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then what's the third one?
Third one is, you need a good outcome for the event planner. When you get off that stage, people should go to the event planner and say, thank you for bringing the speaker to us. That was great. You did a great job. So always appreciate the event planner and help them do their job. Help them help make them successful by letting them know, what do you need on stage to be successful? What should people prepare for? What do they need to have there? anything that can help them make you look better makes them look better.
Yeah.
And, and feel free to thank them from the stage. That always goes a long way. Thank the people
Yeah.
who put you there.
Yeah. That's a very good point. So, I think that what it comes down to in some ways is just really going out of your way to get out of your own focus on yourself and really think about the audience, the person that gave you this opportunity to just be grateful for that and to be worthy of that. Right.
Well, I love the way you said that, because I always tell speakers when I'm coaching them, it's not about you. It's about what you bring to them. When you write your bio, it's about what you offer the audience. Your website should be about solving problems for the customer. When you're on stage, you should be giving them tools, entertainment, motivation, whatever it is. I think for speakers who get up there and go, hey, look at me. I'm fantastic. Look what I've done. I'm so impressive. I find to be a big yawn, right? I think speakers should get out there, and maybe they have done something really impressive, but how does it impact the audience? How does it help them? How does it inspire them to be better themselves?
We had a conversation recently, and I brought up one of my really biggest pet peeves of all time, which is the metaphor would be that restaurant with a fabulous view that has mediocre or crappy food.
I love that metaphor.
The person who's done this totally amazing thing and then gives a just talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing that drives me crazier. I don't know why it affects me so badly, but it's like you did something amazing and how you talk about it is so yucky. Why would you?
I think you can appreciate it because you know how much better they can be, right? You know that with a few tweaks, they'd blow the doors off.
Yeah.
I think from my standpoint, I have gone to some meetings where I've spent a fortune and I'm so excited because there's going to be the person there, right? The big name. And then you listen to them and go, holy mackerel, they're awful. I was so excited. And they're like, I'm no longer starstruck. They're not great.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the other thing is just the reputational risk that is, right? Because if you've done something huge and amazing, you can go get a bunch of talks for a while, but word spreads, right? If you're a prima donna, people talk about that. They tell each other, right?
Yep.
And if you're not good, and that's the other thing. I mean, I think that most meeting planners I've met are extremely high on the social ability scale, right? And they're not the kind of people that right when you get off the stage are going to look at you and go, wow, that was incredibly disappointing. They're going to look at you and say, oh, that was great, John. Yeah. Oh, that was good. Yeah. We'll be in touch later. And then crickets, right? And wow. And they tell all their friends, oh my gosh, don't ever hire them. I thought he was, and word spreads. And so there's a real reputational risk there.
Oh, absolutely. And I such an important point, because that's exactly what happens. I have speakers who will go, they'll get off and they'll go, Lee, I rocked it. They told me I was great. I was amazing. And then I follow up with the meeting planner and go, hey, how'd it go? And then they go, Lee, this was not good. And they told the, and they're like, but I wouldn't say that to the speaker because I don't want to insult them. I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right.
I'm like, you tell me, I'll hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, there are like 5 items that are the key points that professional speakers, that high level professional speakers blow and don't even realize it.
Let's talk about those. What, because you told me number 1 when we were just getting ready to come in here. Will you tell me that again? What is number 1?
Number 1, they failed to connect with the audience because they don't know who their audience is. They didn't pay attention to who they are. They didn't research who they are. They didn't do a pre-call. Maybe they don't care who the audience is, but they failed to connect with them because they used the wrong language, right? That there might be certain terminology within certain industries, and they used words that made them obviously an amateur who was not from the industry. right? And or they accidentally, culturally, right? If you're a global speaker, you can insult your audience. You can make big mistakes because you haven't paid attention to the culture. So it's really important to know your audience. It's funny. I was once there was an event. I won't go into names, but it was a big brand. Everyone listening would know the brand, and they had their opening keynote speaker, the guy, right, that they spent a lot of money on, and then at the time they had Jesse Cole, who they had gotten through me, as their lunchtime energy speaker. Well, Jesse's still on stage, and the guy calls me and goes, "Lee, why didn't we hire him for the opener? The opener did not connect with our audience. Like, we paid twice as much for him, and he had his spiel, and it was canned, and you could tell he obviously didn't understand our industry." And I went, wow. Here, I felt like calling him going, "Dude, you don't work for me, but you really blew it," because it was so obvious you didn't know the industry.
Yeah.
So it's so important to connect, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes a few minutes of research, asking a few questions. It's an easy question. "Hey, are there special terms you use in your industry? Could you tell me for 5 minutes about your audience in the industry?"
Yeah.
And then you'll be 90% better as a speaker, because they'll know that you're there to talk to them and you're not just there to talk.
Yeah. Lee, I teach people in my course and in the coaching that I do about how I realized a while ago, I was all self-righteously proud of being responsible for what I said, but then it dawned on me that was actually stopping early. I realized I could not only be responsible for what I said, I realized I could also be responsible for what they heard. And it was one of the most profound realizations I've ever had in my life. And I took it on, and it changed everything. I went from checking the box, very committedly checking the box, "I told you so," right? But still not getting what I wanted, not accomplishing my objectives. "But I told you so. I said you shouldn't do that. I told you so." But when I started reaching over a little further and checking the box, I landed it, right? I actually said it so they heard it. Wow, did things change. And the number one piece of that was getting to know the person I was talking to, or getting to know my audience,
And it's not a huge investment of time.
No, it can be, look, anything is more
Better
than zero, right?
Absolutely.
The other thing that I wonder about, Lee, because, I say communicating with human beings is not logical, it's biological. And I tell people, until you have an emotional connection, all the logic in the world bounces off. And I wonder if you think that ever is part of this fail to connect with the audience. Do people ever go in with their logic and their details and all the great information without enough of a human connection? Is that ever part of the problem?
The way you're stating it is perfect. I think that's a huge problem, because you do need some sort of emotional connection somehow. How are we on the same planet right now?
Yes,
right?
Yes. In the same tribe together, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
something that you respect me, I respect you, and we're in the same place. So yeah, I think it's definitely biological. It's funny, again, back from my HR days. The biggest reason hiring managers would hire someone, they'd come to me, I'd be like, "All right, what was great? Why do you want to hire this person, not those 10?" And they'd say, "I don't know, Lee. We just clicked."
There you go.
That was the key. With an audience, you need to just click.
Well, and how I talk about it, Lee, is that everybody that comes to that interview, like, they've already been vetted. They're all going to basically be in the same space or very close to each other in terms of the logic, right?
Yep.
The school, the education, the experience, all that. So when you meet them, they're all pretty similar on that level. But who do you make an emotional connection with? Who really clicks with you? That's who gets the job. And it's the same thing when you're a speaker, like.
Absolutely. You 5 people on stage that day. Which one do you like the best? The one you connected to, the one you relate to.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So what's number 2 item that high level pro speakers blow?
So, all right. So high level pros don't blow this one as well. No, you know what? I
Okay.
take that back.
Yeah.
Even high level do. No,
Uh-huh.
high level people, not necessarily high level pro speakers.
Yep.
Failing at timing. Now, this is a huge pet peeve for event planners because they go, okay, John is going on at 10:50 a.m. and we need you off at 11:50 a.m. because then we have 10 minutes to get people to lunch and they start at noon.
Yeah.
And then you're going and all of a sudden at 12:15 they're going, John, get off. And people are waving in the back of the room and you're not getting off the stage and they're going, oh my God, the food is getting cold. But John, it happens all the time. There's one guy, not going to mention his name. He owns a big brand. You would know this brand. You might have this brand on your feet. Okay. He does it every time to the point where I will not work with him. Other people will not work with him. He won't get off the stage. He won't, once he gets going, he won't get off. And so unless the event planner is mentally prepared to let him go an extra half hour because he starts rambling, don't get him. Conversely, if you stop early. This happened to Mike once. My fault. I brought a speaker to him. I'm going to completely take responsibility here. I thought the speaker was great. The content was great. She ended 20 minutes early. And thank goodness Mike Michalowicz is the professional that he is, because as she was speaking, he all of a sudden said, oh my goodness, she's ending. And the next speaker wasn't even mic'd yet. We had 20 minutes still. He just burst onto the stage. He's like, hey, that was great. Big round of applause. And then he filled the dead space for 20 minutes.
Wow.
I will never place her again. He will never hire her again. You can't leave as a professional speaker 20 minutes of dead air. That nothing will upset an event planner more than just dead space. What do you do? What do you do?
Well, it's one of the reasons that I think the TED conference got so popular is because they were really, really rigorous. In fact, I was there when they pulled someone off the stage because she had just gone too long. And they actually got up and removed her from the stage. And she wasn't very happy about it. And it was incredibly awkward. And everybody was really stoked they did it. And I think that is one of the absolute least professional, most just narcissistic things that anybody can do is to just go long. And what the TED commandments say about that is thou shalt not steal the time of those who come after thee.
Perfect.
Right. And there's almost no other way. It's one of the top ways that people can have me lose all respect for them. Like a couple minutes, a few minutes, I get it. Right. But people who just go like 3 minutes, one thing on an hour-long talk, 10 minutes, 15, 20, like that's just destroying the integrity of the whole event. And then, I can't say that I've ever been around when somebody stopped too early. I've never been there or seen that. But that too, right? What a nightmare. Now we got 20 minutes and the next speaker isn't even ready yet.
And what do you do? Yeah, it's a nightmare. And I've seen both happen. And isn't it funny how fail timing, like this is such an emotional topic that any speaker should be able to fix. So it's so easy to fix, right? To prepare that either you say to them, hey, somebody stand up and hold a sign up that I'm done. Hey, I need a timer on my stage. Or again, if Mike Michalowicz is listening, I'm going to tell his secret right now. His watch vibrates every 15 minutes. So he knows exactly where he is in his talk. Never needs a timer, always ends within 60 seconds of the end.
That's really great. That's a great. Thanks for sharing the secret.
Yeah.
Mike, you didn't tell me.
Yeah, that was a secret.
That's
You'll see him touch his wrist during his talk. Just touch it. That's all. Yeah. He's resetting the timer.
That's really cool. That's great. That's a great idea. I mean, and listen, it really does ultimately come down to respecting the audience. And I think at an even deeper level, respecting yourself. Like, I don't think people who do that, like big brand guy who won't get off the stage, he certainly doesn't respect the audience. He doesn't respect the meeting planner. And I don't even think he respects himself.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible thing, but we can go beyond that now. So we've beaten this up, right? The horse.
There we go.
Get off the stage when you're supposed to get off the stage.
There you go. Yes. Not too early, not too late. So what's number 3?
Now, this is a tricky one. This one is that the speaker did not fulfill the expectations of the meeting planner. And you should say, well, it's pretty obviously, right? I have a contract and they said I was supposed to start here and end here. And I did everything I said I would do. And I did everything they asked of me. How come they're upset? Here's why. There are unspoken expectations. And if you don't fulfill them, you're the villain. And this is where miscommunication comes in. This is where you need a pre-event call, or have your assistant do a pre-event call and make sure you check that event planner and say, here's what they plan to do. Is there anything else? What else do you need? What else do you want? What else can I do for you? Because sometimes it's the little things. It's the things that are unspoken because I think they're so obvious that, after the event, John left the stage and took his mic off, right? And they're going, why didn't you come back for Q&A? And you say, but you didn't ask me to come back for Q&A. That wasn't part of the agreement. But John, everyone comes back for Q&A. Why wouldn't you know that? And you're going, but usually people ask for that. But, and now it's a disaster because they had this expectation, which they never actually said, because they thought it was so obvious. But that is speakers blow it, because if I feel as a speaker, you should ask the question. What else do you need from me? How can I serve you? What's coming? And because then also if they ask for something and you say, I can't do that, again, you haven't blown the expectation now. I'm so sorry. My plane leaves at noon. You said 1 hour. I can't stay till 1 for Q&A, or I can't stay for lunch. Then it's okay because it came up before the event.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe if we talk about it early enough, I could get the later flight and I might want to stick around for lunch because there might be all kinds of future opportunities there, right?
Right. But again, it's unspoken because maybe you're not invited to lunch. So you can't assume either.
Right. I ask those things all the time, even when I'm, like for anything. I always find out, do you want me at the dinner that night? Do you want me at this? What,
Again, the pros from the non-pros.
There you go. Yeah,
you got it.
So, I mean, we all learned this one way or another, right?
Yep.
So what's number 4?
Number 4 is just a little one. Do not sell from the stage unless somebody asks you to. People love to get up and go, oh, and you can get my new book at Amazon. Some events take real offense to that. Yeah. And some audiences take real offense to that. If there's anything, and a lot of speakers do sell, right? A lot of speakers have programs. A lot of speakers have companies. They're promoting their companies. If you have not explicitly been told by the event planner that you may mention your brand, your company, your book from the stage, don't do it.
Yeah.
Make sure you ask first, because you're going to offend, you're going to get blackballed by other events.
Well, and this is another thing that I learned from Ted, because I kind of blew it. I didn't sell from the stage the first time I spoke at TED, but I kind of did. I didn't have a book. But I wanted to sell myself, right? Mm-hmm. And I really didn't give that TED Talk. Like, that TED Talk was, for me, at least as much as anything else. And what I've really found since then, after blowing that talk so badly, thank heavens I got invited back a few times, it's got to be for them. And if you do it for the audience, if you do it for them, they'll want to buy your book. They'll go find your book on their own. And you may very well sell way more books than if you even tried to sell your book. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately,
100%.
If you just really bring them something ultra awesome and valuable, they'll go do the work for you. You don't even need to sell it.
And that's actually a selling technique, right? Exchange. If you give something to the audience, they feel compelled to give something back. So you give away all this knowledge, and A, they want more, but B, they're like, he was so great, I feel like I should get his book now. No, absolutely. When you're on stage, you're giving.
Well, and Lee, this is something embarrassingly that I've just kind of learned in my social media, output, is I think that I just kind of assumed that I just was supposed to put stuff out and make offers and tell people what they could get from me and all that kind of stuff. And it really never really worked. And all of a sudden, I've got a coach now, had a coach for about 6 or 7 months in this arena. And he was like, dude, he's got an Australian accent. Like, dude, right. It's a relationship. Right. And of course, I've heard that ever since freaking Seth Godin wrote his first book, but I wasn't treating it like that. I was treating it like it was a mass outlet for me to say what I wanted to a whole bunch of people. And that's not what it is. It's a place for me to come, bring something, offer people something, genuinely care about anybody that wants to interact with me. And then once we have a relationship, there may be things that I can do for them. Right. And I think it's the same temptation with a speaker. Here I am in front of 3,000 people. Gee, if I could only sell every one of them my book. Yeah. And right. Versus here I am in front of this person and this person and this person and this. What could I give each of these individuals that would be the beginning of a worthwhile relationship, you know?
Absolutely. No, the best, the people with the best, what am I looking for? The highest thought leaders, the richest, people, as rich, not money wise, but I mean, with giving, never sell anything from the stage. They never even suggest it. I think the more you push, the more you lower yourself. Mm-hmm. Right. That you're becoming desperate now and going, buy my stuff, buy my stuff.
Yep.
You elevate yourself by not pushing your stuff. Like you said, by giving. I think that's what elevates you.
Yeah, I agree. Unless, there's a very specific people know that that's what they're coming for, but that's a totally different ball of wax.
That's totally different. If somebody says it's a sell from the stage event, that's different. It's also
everybody's ready for that.
Though. Everyone's ready for it, but it's also a different skill set.
Yes.
Right.
Because
totally now as a speaker, you're going to story tell, suggest, but not give the solution.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a different skill set that we're not talking about that today.
Yeah. So how about the fifth way?
The last thing,
yeah,
which you and I have talked about before, high maintenance. People should not be high maintenance. You know what? You're not speaker. You're not that important. You think you are, you're not. And I don't care who you are. And this is why I don't work with that many celebrities, because celebrities, and I get it, because I do work with some celebrities. People start fawning after you so much that it gives you this highfalutin attitude. I think you sort of fall into it.
Yeah.
Here's your call back to earth. You're just not that important. I get it. You were in some movie. I get it. You climbed a mountain. You're here to give to us. Get over yourself.
Yeah.
And because it's so irritating. There was a guy, a sports guy, and I just, we're trying to be really great for him. And I said, hey, this event, they're going to hire you. They'd like to know what you'd like for lunch. Like, I think that's lovely. They're going to get whatever he wants. And the answer was, I would like a deli tray with at least 12 different selections, because on that day, I don't know what I want. So I want to be able to choose whatever I want. And I'm like, what do we do the rest? Just throw it away? It's like, yeah. And I thought, I'm like, that's just rude to go. That just irked me so much. Is it difficult to get a deli platter? No, but it's just such a self-centered thing to be like, I'm the king, right? I'm going to take one piece off the tray and cast the rest of the food into the garbage. I found that so rude. And you always hear like the green M&M things and the flowers. Another woman said, another speaker, and I wound up not hiring her, and you would know her TV show, she needs to have steamed cauliflower available at all times. Now, unless that is a health condition, right? No.
Might be.
No.
Yeah.
If it's not a health condition, really, like you can't, what a pain.
Yeah.
What if it's not in season? What if, to have steamed cauliflower? I just find that unreasonable.
Yeah.
I find it, anyway, so don't be high maintenance, because maybe there will be people who will hire you anyway. And some people think, oh my God, he was so cool. Like, he requires all these things. I do not think it is cool. I will not place you. I know a lot of agents who won't place you, and people do get tired of that very quickly. You're not that important. Be reasonable. I mean, you have certain things you need. I get it. You want to have water. You need to have food. That's fine. Just don't cross the line of diva.
Yeah.
There's a diva
No.
line.
I mean, and listen, word spreads in the TEDx community about that like wildfire. If you're a diva speaker, you're not like,
You're
you
never
might
coming
get
back.
one chance, but you're never coming back. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's another place where the TED conference really gets it right. They tell their speakers, we don't want you to just parachute in here and like give your speech and leave. We want you to come stay, because really we see no difference between you and the people in the audience. It's just this year you get to be on stage, and we want you to be there to be able to engage in conversation, to be available, right? You're not
You're
apart
not
from the
special.
audience. Yeah. You just got on the stage this year, right?
Right. Right.
And I think that's a really good attitude about it. And the other thing that I realized, Lee, a while ago is that, I mean, I guess this story, and probably people listening have heard it before, but good stories. Hopefully, we don't mind hearing them again, and hopefully, this is a good story. When I lost my .com company, I almost died of an autoimmune disease back in 2000 and whatever, 2000 or so, and I had this epiphany as I looked back on my life, that my life had been really small and really selfish. And I was a good enough guy in a lot of senses, but really where I was coming from was small and selfish. And I remember sitting there thinking I was going to die that way. Small and selfish, right? That would have been the big thing on my tombstone. And I was talking to the universe, begging it to let me live. And I made this promise. I said, if you let me live, I promise you that I will make the number one, make my number one priority will be to make a difference. I promise that will mean more to me. That will be my number one priority over anything else. If you just let me live, that's what I'll focus on. And I got to live, and I was not okay for a long time. And it was a super scary experience. And I was super glad to be alive. I still am. Every day since that day has been total gravy, because I kept my promise of making my number one priority is to make a difference. And then it dawned on me a little while ago, Lee, I totally can't do that without massive help, right? I realized that when I get up on stage in a training environment or in a keynote speech or whatever, and I've promised the universe that my number one goal is to make a difference, I cannot do that. No matter how brilliant what I say is, no matter how heartfelt and authentic, and none of it matters if they're not listening.
Oh my goodness. So true. So true.
So, that's how big of a difference I make. The difference I make is zilch without them. And I remind myself of that if I ever start to think that I'm the big deal, right? I'm not the big deal. Put me in that big, huge auditorium with zero audience and nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
So
no, that's, and I think people forget that, right? And with celebrities, because people do fawn after them.
Yeah.
You start thinking that, it's all about me. They're all following me. But without your fans, you are not a star. Without your audience, you are not a speaker. And it's tough to put yourself back there. But I think it's vital that you can.
Well, I don't think that, our mutual friend Mike McKelowitz has turned into a diva anytime recently, has he?
He has not, although it's funny. I've traveled with him a couple times. I went to a big event with him in Europe because I knew there'd be a lot of stuff going on. And in the airport, some guy comes running over and just hugs him out of the blue. It was a little awkward.
Yeah.
And Mike he's like, "Who are you?" And the guy goes, "You saved my company. Like, I read your book. It saved my company. Thank you so much." So they had their little talk. The guy disappeared. And Mike turned to me and said, "Don't let me turn," and I'm not going to say what he said, but he's like, basically, "Don't let me ever turn into a jerk. Like, don't ever let this go to my head. I'm not that important."
Yeah.
And because it wasn't just him, right? It was everybody at the event was like that. They were all, "Oh, Mike, you're so amazing."
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah.
he goes,
look, I'm that way about Mike.
Right. But he goes, "Never let me turn into a jerk. Like, if I ever say anything jerky to anybody, just
smack me.
Smack me. Yeah. So he realizes that it can happen to you, but you can't. And so, no, he's never turned into a jerk.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to him pretty regularly, and I think that's what, I mean, I think it's something that he takes on consciously, as you're pointing to, right? It would be easy for him to let that get to his head, but it wouldn't help anything. And it would diminish those moments when that guy in the airport runs up and hugs him. I mean, that would make me cry if I were him, like, just to know somebody felt that grateful for something I had done. What a gift that is, right? To be able to even experience that is just such a gift.
Yep. And it's funny. I work with Dion Flynn, who he's like, what does he call himself? I think like the lowest level of celebrity there is, something like that. He's very self-deprecating. He's been on the Tonight Show over 100 times. He's amazing. He's got, he used to be the Barack Obama impersonator.
Oh, that's
so if you want to be amused later, look like the Tonight Show, Barack Obama, Tonight Show, Dion Flynn, and you'll see him. And as soon as you see it, you'll be, oh my God, I know this guy. Sure. My kids watch it. They're like, oh yeah, we know this guy.
Yeah.
And so I'll say that to people. I'll be like, this guy, he's an actor. And he goes, no, Lee, I'm not. I'm just a guy,
Yeah.
But I love that about him, that he's just a guy. He's a really cool guy. But I love that really cool guys can realize they're just people too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, so Lee, listen, we're kind of coming up on time, but I do want to talk about one more kind of topic, which is, if somebody's listening to this and they're like a startup founder, or they're an entrepreneur, or they're a leader at a corporation, I tell people like that I think there's a great value in them thinking about what their area of thought leadership is, and to start to carve out a space in that area now, while they're doing whatever they're doing, even though they're not going to do it full time, and they're not going to go be thought leader 24/7. But a lot of times I've watched people, and they'll have a great position, and they'll have all this visibility, and then they'll quit, and then that's all gone. And they didn't have a website, and they didn't already have some pieces published here and there, and they want to become a thought leader now, but they're out of their position, and they've lost those tailwinds, right?
They have, and you've got to think about today's society and where we are. Everything is video, right? Everything is on video. Everything's on audio. Everything's recorded. And if you are the leader of the company, I think you need to embrace that. Because look at the leaders who have, right? Have you ever heard of Elon Musk? Oh, he's that Tesla guy, right? Have you ever heard of Richard Branson? Oh yeah, he's the Virgin guy. Like, these are huge names, but why are they huge names? Their brand is big, yes, but they're big personalities.
Yeah.
And so I think that you can become, there's value in both sides. One is you become the face of a company, which only enhances your brand if you do it well.
Right.
But then on the other hand, like you said, you need to also have your own brand.
Yeah.
Because even if you are no longer that company, will people still know who you are and what you stand for?
Yeah.
Actually, I think Ramon Ray wrote a book called The Celebrity CEO. And it's not just big companies. If you own a company, you have this opportunity to become the face of the company.
Right.
To become the personality, to become the soul of the company. And I think you can do that by speaking, by getting out there, by having a website, by having a brand, by being heard. You will become the soul of the company. And that brings value to them and to you. And then if you leave that company, you still have soul, and you can take that soul elsewhere. Exactly.
And I think that's something just worth thinking about for people, and look at those opportunities to speak and show up as a thought leader. Get a website for yourself, a personal website. You might have to talk to legal or whatever, but you can work that all out. And then have your own personal brand along with the company that you're currently leading or whatever, and go get heard and set yourself up for a lifetime of thought leadership, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because if we jump all the way back to what we talked about in the beginning, one of the first things that event planners look for is celebrity. Well,
Right.
if you have a big brand attached to your name, you were the founder of, even if you're not there anymore, you're
Right.
a celebrity. So it is important, like you said, to have your own website, to have your own following on LinkedIn, whatever it is, you become a celebrity.
It's a really good way to think of it, right? Because when you're working or leading a company or you're a high level leader at a big organization, you're fundamentally, they're giving you celebrity. And
Absolutely.
you should take advantage of that and use that and grow that while you've got it, because that's just an amazing gift. And it's good for you and it's good for the company. If it's done right, it's good for both.
Well, it's interesting. So Jesse Cole, founder of Savannah Bananas, we talked about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Savannah Bananas, right? Huge brand. Like you said once, nobody knows any of the players, but you know the bananas, right? It's
Yes.
a great team. But Jesse Cole is the leader. And he is, when you invite him, you don't invite necessarily the whole team. You just get Jesse Cole to your company and he will help you think outside of the box and create fans and all this, because he is the figurehead. He has his own brand as well as being a banana. Like
Yeah.
there are two brands there, and there's a Savannah Bananas website and there's a Jesse Cole Find Your Yellow Tux website.
Yeah.
Two different sites. And I think anyone can do that, where you are the leader of the brand, but you're also you. You're also a thought leader.
Yeah. I think that's just a really important, great lesson that I wish, every leader that's listening to this would really take to heart. Have that long-term view on yourself and your brand, take advantage of the celebrity status that what you're doing right now grants you, and go make a difference with it.
That's the thing. Go make a difference.
Yeah. Well, so listen, Lee, I'll let you go. Thank you for spending this time with us. It's really great to get your perspective. And by the way, I think it's obvious, but I just want to say, if you're a leader, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a startup founder, if you're pitching, if you're doing any other kinds of communication and things, I think all of these things, despite being specific to speakers and meeting planners, I think every single thing we talked about here is wildly generalizable to any kind of presenting, speaking, leadership, right? Know your audience. Don't go overtime. Don't go under time. Fulfill the expectations and dig under what are the unspoken expectations. Don't make it all about you and sell from the stage and be high maintenance and all that. Like, be there to be of service, and it'll just be a much more sustainable long-term success that you create. So, thank you for all these messages, Lee. I think this is super great and super important stuff.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always great talking with you. And if anything I said helped, hey, I'm happy.
Right on. Yeah. I think Buddha said, if you make a difference in the life of one person, consider yourself blessed. So I think we'll at least be blessed when this comes out. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. If you feel like giving us a big 5-star rating, that would help me get the message out to even more people. If there's anything you'd like me to cover, if there's anybody that you think we should get on here, I'd always love to hear from you. You can email me directly, john@johnbates.com, and go be great in your life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And we'll see you next week on speaklikealeader.show. Thanks again, Lee. Thank you for joining the Speak Like a Leader podcast. Go be awesome.